1 week of the NFL season. I know a lot of people out there are really excited about fantasy football. So what we're going to do is we're going to head to the United States for the dorm room report about fantasy football from Harrison Singer.
What's up, guys? Harrison Singer back on the third edition of the Dorm Room Report. Rather than giving you predictions of what I think is going to happen in each division, I'm going to give you some names for fantasy football that you should probably consider adding if they're still around on your waiver wire, and a few guys that if they're on your team right now, you may want to consider kicking to the curb. First player that comes to mind that who you should add is Chicago Bears running back Tarik Cohen. Looked very, very good with the ball in his hand on Sunday. Not saying Jordan Howard's not a good back, but I definitely see Tarik Cohen cutting in to Howard's carries. And for all we know, this season could be a tough one for Howard. You saw NFL defenses figure out Todd Gurley after his rookie season. You never know if the same can go for Jordan Howard. The next guy that comes to mind when I'm thinking about adding on that waiver wire is Baltimore Ravens running back Buck Allen. We saw Danny Woodhead go down with what appeared to be a pretty serious hamstring injury. Those are pretty difficult to heal from. You never know how to really gauge when the right time to come back is, and Woodhead may very well struggle with that, and he may be out a little while consequently. Buck Allen's a guy that I would definitely consider picking up, at least in Woodhead's absence, and Woodhead has to be on your team in a PPR, but Buck Allen may very well be getting a lot of those same touches that Woodhead received in the first quarter before going down with that hamstring injury. The last player, or really players, I would advise you to add on that waiver wire are it's an AB. It's a 3A and a 3B kind of thing. So Kerwin Williams would be my 3A, and Andre Ellington would be my 3B. Both Arizona Cardinal running backs, we don't know who exactly will get the bulk of the carries, but even if they do split at the very start in Arizona's attempt to cover for Johnson's absence, someone may very well, like it usually does happen, one guy outperforms the other. So whoever it is you stick with, I would consider picking up both if you have room for both on your roster. But Arizona rode David Johnson like a bull throughout all of last season and until he got injured in week 1. So the expectation is the same goes for whoever takes over that starting role in Arizona. Now, 3 guys who I would really suggest dropping. The first one is Eric Ebron, tight end for the Detroit Lions. We saw Golden Tate get 12 targets, I believe, on 10 of them were actually caught and went as receptions. Marvin Jones caught a touchdown. Theo Riddick got 7 targets. Matthew Stafford likes to spread it around, but the performance that Ebron put on Sunday isn't really going to cut it for me, especially with all the other weapons that Detroit has at Stafford's disposal. The second guy, a big one that I definitely consider getting rid of if for some reason he's still on your roster, is Darren McFadden. Obviously, the news came out that Ezekiel Elliott will probably be playing all season long, and if that does happen to be the case, Darren McFadden really doesn't serve a meaningful purpose on your fantasy roster, barring an Ezekiel Elliott injury, which would be the only reason to keep him or pick him back up after dropping him. The last but not least player I'd consider dropping would be Latavius Murray. His fantasy value in this year's drafts were really based off his 12 touchdowns, but a lot of those touchdowns were inside the 10, inside the red zone. Oakland giving him the ball. Didn't need him anymore after they were able to trade for Marshawn Lynch. And now Latavius Murray finds himself in a bit of an awkward situation. He's probably going to end up being the odd man out in Minnesota, especially after what we saw from Dalvin Cook in week 1 on Monday night. So Latavius Murray is definitely a guy I'd consider dropping, especially if you're trying to make room for one of the 3 or 4 guys that I mentioned, who, if they're still around on your waiver wire. That's all I got for you guys this week. I'll be back next week talking more about fantasy players who you should and shouldn't have on your team. Until next time, guys, thanks for having me on. Harrison Singer signing off.
Hey, great job, Harrison. And we'll be hearing his report from the dorm room every week on fantasy football. watching Sportsheads. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, but you can also hit us on Twitter, Instagram. We would love to hear from you. We're trying to take the program from next level to next level to next level. Enjoy.